Hi, my name is James Lancaster, CEO of Solenic Medical, and our technology will keep you moving from your prosthetic joint infection problems. The technology spun out of UT Southwestern Medical School based on the work of Dr. David Greenberg and Rajiv Chopra, two researchers at UT Southwestern who were trying to come up with a better way to treat infections on implants, specifically prosthetic joint implants like knees and hips. The technology spun out because the treatment of these infections are due to biofilm, and there's no easy way to treat them without surgical intervention. In fact, the good analogy to think of is biofilm causes problems every day. Everyone is familiar with it. It's because you physically brush it off your teeth. Now, it's easy enough to open your mouth and brush your teeth to get rid of biofilm, but doing that on a knee or hip implant, as an example, is a very invasive surgical intervention. Yeah, the typical patient finds out the hard way they have an infection. Their joint, weeks after the original surgery, even years later, may become painful, may be inflamed. It may be inflamed to the point where your knee is the size of a volleyball or larger. Generally, if it does that weeks after surgery, generally that is infection. So you'll find it very quickly. It could cause pain. It could cause loosening of the joint, which would require replacement. So real quickly, it's about pain and inflammation that should be far enough away from the original surgery. It's not the healing, it's the infection case that's setting in. The challenge of prosthetic joint infection is because it has a high failure rate. It is very invasive surgically to treat. And the problem is a lot of these people got implants to regain or to retain their mobility. So there's about a 26% chance of the infection leading to amputation of the limb and a 27% chance of death of the patient within 5 years. So 50-50 chance that that one surgical procedure will treat the infection, and there's a very good cascade to all the way to amputation or death. So it's very invasive, it's mobility challenging, and it takes years off the life of the patient, even if these surgeries are successful. Our technology is based on alternating magnetic fields. Now, many people in the healthcare industry are familiar with magnetic fields because of the use of magnetic resonance imaging or MRI technologies. And they tell you to take jewelry off your body and, jewelry like rings and bracelets because those metal devices can heat up unpredictably. We have figured out how to shape that for a very controlled, even therapeutic dose. Now, what we're doing is applying alternating magnetic fields at a certain frequency, a certain energy, and a very shaped field designed for the implant, like a knee, for example, and it creates that controlled dose. When that alternating magnetic field gets to the metal, it creates eddy currents on the surface of the implant. Think northern lights, kind of glowing lights type thing. And that eddy currents generate heat. The heat becomes thermal medicine that at that point can be dosed just like a drug using a time and temperature formula. So it's a very controlled therapeutic dose, thermal medicine, based on fields created by alternating magnetic fields. The current standard of care starts with antibiotics. In general, if antibiotics are not effective against it, they proceed to surgical intervention. Kind of think of the surgical opening of the mouth and the surgical toothbrushing kind of exercise, debridement tools that will get rid of infective tissue. So it's very invasive surgically. Then it proceeds to revisions, which sounds very simple, but that's where they physically cut out the implant and they put in a new one after a period of time with various different infection treatments. And then if that's not successful, it goes to amputation. So it's about a $500,000 lifetime cost of care for that patient, multiple different surgeries. And again, over 50% within 5 years are dead or amputated, so that it's not a very successful outcome when they have to start going to surgical intervention. The patient population varies widely by implant. Our initial research using Center for Medicaid data is that about 74,000 procedures are potential in the knees alone just for acute infections, even more if the treatment were to proceed back to the point of care to original infection. About half that many in hips, then you have shoulders, tibial nails, and various other implants like spine. So the total market for the first three indications, which is hips, knees, and shoulders, is about 130,000 procedures. But again, it can be extended to spine and other metallic implants as well. Our alternative to the current standard of care, which involves multiple surgeries, is to place a shaped coil and think of a knee implant in a field and then a coil that's slightly larger shaped than the knee. It goes over that implant location. It's non-invasive. It completely is non-skin contacting. It's certainly not surgical. The treatment is about 2 minutes, so you spend more time putting the patient on the table and placing the coil than you do in the treatment. And we can reach whatever therapeutic dose the physician prescribes as appropriate for that patient condition and the patient threat risk based on the severity of the infection. It could be an acute infection, it could be a chronic or recurring infection. So not only do you have the ability to treat it without an invasive surgery, you also, for some patients with chronic or immune system problems, to treat them periodically, monthly or quarterly, the rest of their life. And there is no other procedure that can do that non-invasively without surgical intervention. The market potential is quite large. In the US alone, for the first three indications, it's a couple $1 billion. If you take all treatment mechanisms all the way back to prophylactic care after the original surgery, it's about 7 or 8 billion. And you double that or slightly larger for worldwide opportunities. And again, that's the first 3 or 4 applications. So if you add spine and other infections on implants, you can get a quite large market very quickly. Historically, we've had a lot of great validation with an NIH grant. Our lead investor in the Series A round was Johnson & Johnson Development Corporation. A series of other medical device VCs, Shangbei, Pier 70, and Epic Venture Partners most recently have been involved. We do have a really great high-profile medical advisory board with a lot of exposure to the infection societies involved in our treatments and our first-in-human studies. So we've had really nice validation and acceptance by key players in the industry, and we hope to grow that further as we treat patients and have successes in the operating room. The device itself is about the size of a rolling cart ultrasound kind of device, or about the size of a speaker podium that you might see in an event. It's portable. You can move it to inpatient, outpatient. It can be used in the OR. It can be used in the post-op recovery room. So there's a variety of different settings the device can use to. And again, it's non-contacting, so it's a matter of placing it where the infection can be easily treated by the patients who are coming in, or immediately after surgery, or in just a walk-in clinic visit. Well, we're really excited to say that we have just started recruiting for our first-in-human feasibility studies in the North Dallas area. So we hope to have patients on the table being treated and hopefully their infection resolved here by the time this message even gets out there. The first treatment is going to be on knees. Next will be hips, then tibial, nail, shoulder, spine, a few others. So as we're getting ready to do our first treatment feasibility studies on knees, we're already working on hips. We demonstrated our tibial nail coil already for treatment preparations for first in human by year end, hips shortly behind it. We then will be exploring other devices next. So it's a platform level technology starting on knees, starting on orthopedic implants, but it's going to proceed very quickly to other metallic or conductive implant infection problems around the world. The exciting thing long term is once we've proven to the FDA and physicians that it can be safe and effective against acute infections, there's no reason to believe you couldn't use it for recurring infections, and there's no reason to believe it should not reduce the risk of infection in the first place by using it right after the original implantation surgery on a prophylaxis basis.